Let me share my screen. All right, here we go. And bring this down here. I watched the replay the other day, and I had you guys, the little thumbnails of our images were blocking, it was blocking some of the slides. And you know, again, you learn as you go. All right, so now that can you guys see my screen? Okay, it looks like people are. Thank you guys. Thank you so much. All right, so from the pulling up the slideshow real fast. Oh, is that me making that sound or someone else? Okay.
I would like to ask, can everybody please mute their microphone for background noise?
Thank you. Yes, if you are not speaking, or if you don't have a question, if you could just be muted, that'd be fantastic. And if you do have a question, feel free to unmute yourself and ask it, but then remute yourself when you're finished. All right, so today's training is, we're doing a 30-day virtual marketing ideas training, and it's live inside of a Facebook group. Today is day 7 out of 30, and today's topic is understanding social media, which is a very popular topic right now. And I'm hoping that this is a topic that people can get massively engaged in, because there's so much to talk about social media, and especially right now while everybody is in quarantine and at stay-at-home orders because of the coronavirus. So I'm hoping that you guys get more excited about social media now than you've ever been. Today, your trainer is me. I'm Barbara Carr. I am the CEO of Fuse Empire, which is the parent company of Fuse Marketing and Media. And Fuse Marketing and Media is the company that is bringing you this 30-day training. If you have questions, my contact information is on the screen, and you are welcome to use it to reach out to me for questions. So let's jump in. Before I start teaching, I want to see where you guys are as far as social media goes. So I'm going to ask some questions, and I just want to see a show of hands, if you guys would. How many people already feel, my Instagram just fell. How many people already feel comfortable using social media for their business? Raise your hand. Okay, we got a couple of hands up. Okay. How many of you are already using social media for your personal lives? Okay, that's almost 100%. So here's the thing, you guys. I always tell people that when I have my classes and I ask, well, why are you using it for your personal life and not for your business life? Most of the answers I get are similar to, well, it just seems difficult to use it for my business, or I don't know how to make it business related, or I don't want to spam people, or I don't know why I have to have 2 different pages. And people are very confused, and sometimes they're like, there's too many social media platforms and I just don't want to be on all those platforms. There are some people who will tell you that you have to be on every platform, you've got to be found everywhere, and I'm here to debunk some of these myths for you guys, okay? Because I am hoping that you walk away today saying, okay, social media is not the evil monster that I've been picturing it as. So with that said, I'm going to bring up, give me one sec. All right, you guys are just seeing each other again, right? It's not my screen anymore? Okay, perfect. All right, so first thing we're going to start with is, for some reason, I'm getting weird stuff happening on my screen. I'm sorry that I'm like, okay. All right, perfect. So for some reason, people, I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Let me just start from the beginning. Not the beginning. Social media, we're going to start with the myths. The first myth I want to debunk is how often you've got to be on social media and where you've got to be. You do not have to be on every platform. You don't even have to be on most of the platforms. You could be on just one platform if that's what makes sense. And the best way to know which platform you should be on is knowing where your audience is. So how do you know where your target audience is? Well, the first thing is defining who your target audience is. You've got to know who that person is. You've got to be very specific with who that person is. As more narrow that you can make your niche, the better it's going to be for you being able to find your right target market and being able to speak to them in a way that they hear you and that they want to do business with you without you having to convince them to do so. Okay. And so I have a sheet that is, it's an avatar sheet that I will share in the files tab of this group. I won't be able to share it till after the call. So probably by tomorrow, you can find it in the file section of this group. But the avatar sheet is to define who that is. So what is the average age of your target? Are they male or female? Where do they live geographically? What is their education level? And I know that when people think, there are some people that when you start deciding who your avatar is, you start thinking, what? I'm not going to define it down to that small because then I'm going to lose business. Or there are some people who will say, well, I can do business with anybody. Okay, granted, yes, you probably could, but should you be? Really, no. There's a specific market that is right for you and for your business. There are a lot of other people that do the same things we do, right? I'm a business trainer, I'm a coach. There are hundreds of thousands of other business coaches and trainers in this world that people can choose. Why do they choose me? It's for specific reasons. Number one, I know who my avatar is. I'm aiming specifically for them. Same thing with other business coaches. They know who their avatar is and they're talking to that person, right? So knowing who you're looking for will allow you to put the right language into your marketing. For instance, if you are, and I get a lot of people too that say, well, I don't want to choose between men and women. Why can't I work with both men and women? You can, you guys. Just because you're defining your avatar doesn't mean that if somebody comes to you that's outside of that, that you have to turn them away. The good news is, as a business owner, you have the option to turn them away if you want to. You don't have to work with everybody that you want, that wants to work with you. So keep that in mind. You are in charge of who you work with, and you can say no. That's the glory of being an entrepreneur. You can say no. If somebody's going to be more stressed than they're worth, if you don't think that you can honestly help somebody, maybe for whatever reason, you don't have to have a reason to say no to somebody. Now, clearly, you shouldn't say no to them based on, anything that can get you in trouble for discrimination, right? Like, you can't say, no, you're not between 30 and 40, so I will not work with you because of that. You probably could get in trouble for discrimination for that, but you still want to define who you're targeting towards. I hope that makes sense. And so now when you know who your target is, not only are you going to be on a different platform based on who that is. When I say platform, I mean a different social media. So Facebook or LinkedIn or any of the others. We'll go over all of them today. But you'll be on a certain platform, but you'll also speak a different language. For instance, would you speak to a business owner, CEO, the same way you would speak to your child? Most chances, no. There are two different audiences and two different relationships that you have with these people. You're going to use a different language, probably a different tone, maybe even a little bit of different vocal variety based on who you're speaking to. You may speak to even your spouse differently than you do with your children or with your business partner. All of the people in your life, you speak to them in certain ways. Sometimes it's not always a great thing either. In fact, I'm going to just be transparent with you guys and share something that gave me an eye-opener a couple years ago. I was very ashamed by it, but I'm past it now, and I'm okay sharing it. Isaac and I have been together for 2 years now, and about 3 or 4 months into our relationship, I was on the telephone, and he was sitting in the passenger seat in the car next to me. I was on the phone. I was super stressed out over this phone call. It wasn't a stressful phone call. I was just stressed out because of it. And I get off the phone, and Isaac says, that was James, wasn't it? Now, you guys, James is my 16-year-old son. At the time, he was 14. And I was like, how did you know that? And he said, I could just tell the way that you speak to James is different than you speak to other people. As soon as you pick up the phone with him, you get stressed before he talks. And when Isaac first shared that with me, I got offended, kind of like, excuse me? Like, I got really upset by it. But then I took time to pray about it and talk to God about it. And I realized that I had a bias against James that made me speak to him in a way that immediately was negative And I even felt my body language when James would walk in the room. My whole body would tense up, like, oh my goodness, I have to deal with this right now. Now, let me just share with you. My son James is fantastic. He and I have a great relationship right now. But if I didn't acknowledge that 2 years ago, we may not be where we are now. We've got a great relationship, and it took me being active in working on that. But it also took me knowing that, you know, sometimes I used to always think James was every time he came to me, I thought he was going to negotiate with me. And so I was preparing for a negotiation, which I was not good at. I didn't like negotiation. So just know, you guys, even if you don't recognize that you talk to people in different ways, you do. And the rest of the world recognizes it, even if you don't. So try to be mindful of the way that you speak to people, whether that's your clients, your family, and know that the language you're using is going to either get their attention or turn them away. Right? So for instance, if you were marketing to a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, you likely wouldn't do that on a brand like Snapchat. Mostly because Snapchat is used primarily by children and young adults. And it's used more so as a fun app rather than a business app. Now, you can definitely do business on Snapchat, and we're going to talk about that next week. But not only would you be on a different platform, but you would use a different language. If you're talking to younger consumers, you may use more lax conversation, right? You might be more informal in the way that you say things. If you're speaking to somebody who's going to pay you like $500,000, you might worry more about how you speak and how you come off and the words you use and stuff like that, whether that's online or in person or in an email or however. But just keeping in mind that we use different languages to speak to different people. So with that said, you don't have to be on every platform, but you do need to be on the platform that your market is on. And you need to speak their language. Sometimes it's really hard if our target market is a different generation than we are, because you have to learn to speak their language rather than your own. Now, you still have to be true to who you are. You still need to be you. Don't put on a front and try to be like them, but you still have to know what their language is to be able to relate to them so that they are able to listen to you. A lot of times people won't relate. If they can't relate to you, they're not going to listen to you. So the first thing is you need to be able to get in that on that level with whoever it is, whether it's a level here or a level here, wherever you've got to go, you've got to be able to be on the same level with that person and be able to make sure that they realize that you're just like them. You know, if you're speaking to somebody who's below where, you know, where you are financially or whatever, you don't make them feel like they're below you financially. Same thing with if you're speaking to someone who's above you financially, or when I say financially, that's just an example, but in every aspect, you still speak to them like you're on equal levels, but you might use different kind of language and different words to do so. The second myth I want to break is that there is no right way to do social media, as far as there's not a one size fits all. So a lot of times people ask, how often should I post? Where should I post? What should I post? You guys, just like before I said that you guys needed to have a diversified marketing strategy, just like you need a diversified financial portfolio and stuff like that, your posts need to be diversified. You can't just put out blog articles and expect that just from that all kinds of people are going to come in, because if your target audience prefers videos and you're just writing and writing and writing and writing, you won't reach them. They're not going to read if they prefer video. Now, of course, there are some people who like both, but there are different generations that like one thing over the other, and they'll look for that thing. And if they can't find it, they may not look at something else. Okay, so keeping in mind that you need to have different types of media out there so that you could reach people who have different types of not only preferences, but learning capabilities too. So some people learn better by hearing. Some people learn better by seeing. Some people learn better by doing, right? So knowing that people have different preferences of what they prefer, but also different capabilities of how they're going to retain that information best. So making sure you have diversified types of posts. Don't just post on one topic. Even if your industry is very niched to one specific thing, you can still broaden your post based on other people who might have the same clients as you. So like, for instance, if you're, I'll use Mary Kay, for instance, if you're a Mary Kay rep, you might also share things about doing your hair real nice too. Even if, I don't know if there's hair products, there probably are with Mary Kay, but even if that's not what you specialize in, you can still share tips for people to have nice hair, right? Even though that's not the specific thing you do. And in your social media posts, you don't want to be salesy. You don't want to only post about what you have. In fact, I had a client recently who was concerned that we were sharing a lot of information and education. Not that he didn't want to educate people, but he was like, well, we don't even do that particular thing. And I said, I realize that, but you have to still share it. Like the industry as a whole, you need to let people know what is available out there for this particular industry and this topic that you belong to, even if it's not with you. You've got to educate and inform your people, even if it's not with you. Like, that's our duty, is to be able to help others, even if they don't choose to do business with us. I'm giving you guys 30 days of free tips, even if you never do business with me, right? It's just a matter of giving. All right, so before I go on to the next part, I want to see if anyone has any questions on some of those myths. And again, remember, I can't see you, so if you have a question, just ask it.
I have a comment.
No, not right now. Okay, go ahead, Phyllis.
And I don't even know, I don't think she's on the call today, but she's part of the group. When you said to diversify.
Phyllis, you're muted.
I'm sorry, but I was getting feedback. KJ, mute yours. I'm getting volume from her. The first thing that came to my mind was Tracy Pullman.
Okay.
And how, even though she sells jewelry, if she hadn't branched out into dressing people and that kind of thing, she would just be another person doing home parties and selling jewelry.
Yeah.
But she is so unique because she shows you what to wear with what you have and the jewelry and the whole gamut of, you know, the length of your hair to the type of sweater to go with the jewelry.
Right. Yeah, she definitely helped herself stand out in the market. So she, like you said, she's not just another jewelry sales lady. She's somebody who helps you to know how to wear the jewelry with the clothes that you already own. Right. And Phyllis, I think you might be getting feedback again. Okay, so that's a good point, Phyllis. Thank you for sharing that, because the industry you're in, there are different ways that you can make yourself stand out and not be just another insurance person or just another real estate person or just another coach or just, you know, you don't have to be just another whatever. Make yourself stand out, and social media is a great way to do that. All right, so we're going to talk about the different types of platforms and how you could use them. I'm not going specifically into the platforms today because over the next like 10 days after this, we're going into the platform specifically. Okay, so for instance, I think tomorrow might be Facebook. But so I'm not going to go too specifically into the platforms, but I want you to understand the differences between the platforms so that you can make a choice on which platforms are going to be best for you with your audience and your message. Okay, and when I get off here, like I said, I'll put the avatar worksheet out. I recommend you do the avatar worksheet as soon as you can. If you have questions, let me know. I like to give my avatar even a specific name, and I find a picture on Google that kind of matches. So like if it's like a 30-year-old woman, I actually find like a 30-year-old woman on Google that I paste on this avatar to kind of give it a real, this is who I'm looking for. And you guys, when I started doing that, it's amazing how those people just came to me. So before, a couple of years ago, before I had really zoned in on who my avatar was, I was doing business with anybody who wanted to do business with me. And then I was very stressed out, as you could probably imagine. But then I did my avatar, and I was serious about my avatar for the first time in a really long time. And I had decided that I wanted to work with other faith-based people. I wanted to work with people who made between a certain amount of money and have been in business for around a certain amount of years, and that they were around a certain age, right? So I was very definitive with it. And then about a year and a half after doing that, I looked at my clients and I was like, how crazy is this? Like, I didn't even notice that like 90% of my current clients match the avatar I created a year and a half ago. Right. And so subconsciously, I was seeking those people out, even though I may not have been doing so consciously. Now, today, I'm a lot more strategic with it. And I really am strategic and conscious about reaching out to people. But back then, it was more subconscious. I was attracting these people because I made it real. And so I encourage you to make sure that don't keep your avatar in your head. Put it on paper. I like to laminate my avatar sheet. And then if you have an office like where we can hang it up on your desk next to you, that's fantastic. I'm working from my dining room table, so I can't really do that. My family would hate me. They already hate all the stuff I have that's work related on the walls. Instead of pictures, I have dry erase boards. But so make sure that you define your avatar. Otherwise, there's a saying that says you might be so you might be climbing the ladder real high, but it might be wrong against the wrong building or against the wrong wall. And so to make sure that you're putting your ladder on the right wall or the right building, you need to know who your avatar is. Otherwise, you could be doing the greatest social media post out there, but if it's not reaching who you need it to reach, it doesn't matter. Like, you've got to be able to reach who your target is, and you've got to be able to speak to them in a way that they're willing to listen, and that it communicates to them that they need you and that they want you. All right, so let's start with the platforms. We'll start with Facebook because it's the easiest one. Most people have at least heard of Facebook. Many of them are on it now. In fact, the younger generation has got off Facebook because all of us old folks have jumped on. I include myself in that because, like I said, I have teenagers who call me old all the time. But the younger generations have jumped off of Facebook. They've moved on to other platforms, and I'll share those with you soon. So on Facebook, Facebook is a good, easy place to start, no matter what industry you are in and no matter what your target is, because everybody looks there. So Facebook is the one place I will tell you that you should at least have a presence, even if you're not utilizing it a lot. You need to have a presence there. Have a Facebook business page. We talk about that in a couple days. I'll walk you through how to set one up if you don't have one. At least have a Facebook business page and try to post on there one day a month. Okay, at the very least, because everybody's on Facebook. It's kind of like your website. If they can't find you on your website, on a website or on Facebook, they're going to think you don't exist. Okay, so you've got to have at least those two basic places where you have online presence. And then so Facebook, I like to say everybody and their mother is on it, and their grandmother and their grandfather and their nieces and their nephews, and like everybody's on Facebook for the most part, or they have been at some point, which means it's super saturated, you guys. It's very hard to get good traction on Facebook without paying for ads because it is so saturated. Everybody's marketing on there. And the Facebook algorithms have made it harder for us to do free advertising. It's not impossible. We do organic posts with my company, and Facebook is one that we use regularly. We have to work really hard to keep engagement up in there, just like you've noticed in the group. Like, I work really hard to keep you guys engaged. And it may or may not be worth it depending on if you have a lot of time to do that. So while you need to have a Facebook presence, you may or may not have the amount of time to stay on top of it regularly. So at the very least, make sure that you're getting a post out there once a month. Update your people once a month. Dwight, you have your hand up, it looks like.
Yeah. Two questions. What do you mean by organic post? And I guess the other is a statement. I just set up Done Right by Dwight as a Facebook page. And right away, it offered me an option to pay money to have my posts promoted. And I know from experience that if I try to control that algorithm of what comes up on my page, like for instance, when I go on Facebook and I'm seeing the same 5 or 7 people's posts, through my whole news feed, if I'm scrolling, I know that it's time for me to go into my friends list, and I go down my friends list and I pick the people that, inspire me, the people that motivate me to do better, to be more proactive, to live the life that I aim to live now in Christ. And I select their profile. Then I go down and I like some of their posts and I comment on some of their posts, creating the interaction between them. And I find that that then brings them to the forefront of my news feed, because then they start to like my posts and comment on my posts because they've noticed me.
Right.
Then that broadens the amount of reach that I have on Facebook. And I did that before I was doing any professionalism stuff on there. So, but yes, that's my statement. And then what do you do? What do you mean organic posts?
Okay, so organic posts are posts that are not being paid for. So there's Facebook ads, and then there are regular posts. So regular posts are organic posts. Those are very hard to get traction in a business page. On your personal profile, it's different. But on a business page, Facebook has made it really hard to get traction on organic posts. But we have, like I said, we've worked really hard to figure out some algorithms with it. And I believe that we do a pretty good job of it. We're still not perfect or great, like fantastic at it to where it's like, hey, you don't need anything other than this, but we've found some workaround ways for that. Now, even though my company does not do Facebook ads, we are affiliated with a company that does do Facebook ads that we could recommend you to. They are local. They're in St. John. Well, local to most of you. I know some of you are in Illinois as well. But one thing too is if you ever get, and I'm not going to go too far down this hole, but if you ever get the option to boost, I don't recommend you boost. You want to actually do an ad, not a boost. Many people think they're the same thing, and they're not. And I'm not going to go too much into that, but if you do have questions about it, you could let me know, and I could give you to the person who would be best to answer the Facebook ad questions. All right, so moving on. Thank you for those, the question and the comment, Dwight. So with Facebook, now that you're on here, you're able to post, you could do organic posts, you could do Facebook ads. Facebook ads you have to be real careful on, because what I've heard is that you have to put a lot of money into it to make sense. I have yet to meet a business owner who's had success with Facebook ads without putting thousands or millions of dollars into it. If you know somebody who has, I'd love to meet them. Because I've asked hundreds of business owners, and I've worked with a lot of them, and I haven't been able to find anyone who has. Now, my friend who has the Facebook ad company, I think that they have an option to where it's not quite as expensive and they do get results. I don't know the exact level of their results or how that works yet. So now you guys know about Facebook. Let's move on to the next important one, which is LinkedIn. LinkedIn is what I like to call the most professional social media platform. It's the one where a lot of business owners are on. It originally started as a resume site, and then it went to a job recruiting site. Then it became a social media site, and then it became a search engine. And now it's all of those things in one. And so people still use it for all of those different things. But this is where people go to, they post more professional posts. They respond more professionally. The average LinkedIn active user, and by active, it means they log on at least once a month, is between the ages of 35 and 55. They earn about $75,000 per year and has a college degree. So that is the average LinkedIn user. I like to say that's the older, wiser generation who knows what they want, what they don't want, and they have the money to pay you if they want it. So LinkedIn is my favorite platform. It also works for me because I do B2B, right? I'm a business coach, I'm a business trainer. Everything I do is for businesses. It makes sense for me to be on LinkedIn. But if your client or customer is the consumer and it's not a business, like for instance, Mary Kay, I mean, that's an easy one to use. I'm sorry I keep popping it up, but KJ may not want to use LinkedIn because unless she's specifically working with business owners to give them a more professional look. But the average, even though business owners obviously need makeup as well too, it may not be the primary thing they're looking on LinkedIn for. So knowing who your client is and where they might be and how they speak. Remember, keeping those in line. So when you know that, you are able to be on the right platform. Let's use a financial industry. Now, this isn't Dave. I had another person in my in my class a couple years ago. Dave's been in my class for a couple years too, but the example I'm about to give is not Dave. But there is a guy in the financial industry. And he kept telling me that he didn't like certain platforms. And the one he really didn't like was Twitter. That's the one I'm going to go into next. he didn't like Twitter, and I couldn't understand why, because at the time I was teaching him Twitter, that's when Twitter was blowing up. And he didn't like it because he said, I keep posting and I don't have very many followers and nobody comments and nobody engages. And so I looked at his Twitter, and his Twitter was primarily about retirement. Like everything he was posting was about retirement. Well, you guys, what you need to know about Twitter is that the average age of a Twitter user is between 18 and 29. Now, granted, yes, the celebrities and the president use Twitter like nobody's business. I like to say I think it's because it gives them less of a chance to put their foot in their mouth. Their agent might be like, no saying anything more than 280 words or 280 characters. And so it used to be 140, now it's 280. But so yes, those people are on social media too, but they're using it just to post. They're not looking at your posts. So you can't really count them as people who might see your post. The people who are actively using Twitter to scroll and to look at stuff is 18 to 29. They don't care about retirement. Yes, guys, I know they should care about retirement, but they don't. What do you think they care about more right now? Student loan debt, right? So I had asked this person, well, hey, do you have any products that could help with student loan debt? And he says, yeah, in fact, I have. And he starts telling me a few options that he had. And I said, perfect. I encourage you to post student loan debt to your Twitter and how you can help people for the next week. Don't post anything other than student loan debt, just to test it. It was like 3 days in, and he called me and he's like, Barbara, this is genius. I'm getting so many followers, and there are people messaging me and asking how to do this. And again, you guys, I have to give a disclaimer. Results like that may not happen very quickly, but for him it did, right? And it was just a matter of talking the right language to the right audience on the right platform. So that's why you've got to know who your audience is. So if you're B2B, use LinkedIn. B2B means business to business. If the person who buys your product is another business, you're B2B. So make sure that you're on LinkedIn if that is your case. And remember, you can blog on LinkedIn, you guys. That's a great way to get new followers. If you're looking for the younger generation, the 18 to 29, Twitter might be a good option for you. Now, most of the platforms today allow you to do both text and media. Some of them are variations of some of them, of one or the other or more. Some of them allow you to go live. Like right now, I'm on Instagram Live as I'm sharing this on Zoom. I was planning to do Facebook Live too, but apparently Isaac's phone wouldn't let me do that, and the other phone is dead. But so I didn't get to do that. That was poor planning on my part. But knowing what you're able to do on each platform is important. So on LinkedIn, you can post videos, you can post pictures, you can post links, you can post text. On Twitter, you can actually post all those same things. Same thing with Facebook. Facebook even has the option of creating events right on their platform. Facebook also allows you to schedule through their platform. LinkedIn and Twitter do not allow you to schedule through their platform, but you can schedule through third-party apps. And then let's move on to the next one, which is Instagram. Instagram has about the same user demographic as Twitter, except it is increasing by age regularly right now. So the last known statistic that I've been able to find is about 18 to 25, 18 to 35. There's been a little bit on both of those statistics. Of course, people below 18 are using these platforms, but they're not really included in the statistics. I'm not exactly sure why, if it had to be like an adult thing, I don't know, but they don't include anyone below 18 in these particular statistics. But kids are using Instagram and Snapchat the most right now, and TikTok. I'm going to share about all those in just a moment. And so on Instagram, you're able to go live just like you do on Facebook. In fact, Instagram is owned by Facebook. A little funny story that you guys may not know, Mark Zuckerberg tried to buy Snapchat back in 2013 before Snapchat was even popular. They told him no, so he bought Instagram, and he's basically turned Instagram into what Snapchat is, only better. So it's really cool. Kind of think that was his way of being like, well, if I can't have you, I'll beat you. Good old Mark Zuckerberg. But so Instagram is owned by Facebook, and that's why they have some of the similar things as well. So you can go live on Facebook. You can post different medias on Facebook, but the main thing, or on, I'm sorry, Instagram, the main thing that you have to post is an image. You have to have an image in everything you post on Instagram. You cannot post just plain text. You cannot post a video. You can post a link to a video like in your bio. You Unfortunately, it doesn't link if you put it like in the description of the picture, but you could say link in bio, and that's your profile, and that is where you could put the link to like your website or something. But you can put a link in the description, it just won't link as a hyperlink. So people can copy and paste it if they want, but since most people are using mobile devices, they may not. And so that's the top, some of the top ones so far. I should have asked if anyone had questions before I got too far into this. Does anyone have questions on those platforms before we go on to more platforms? We're about halfway through the platforms. Okay.
No question.
Oh, yes. Someone said that, no questions. You said no questions. Okay, perfect. Thanks. I think that was Dave that helped me out there. All right, so now that we have gone through 4, I think we're going through 8 total. Who knows? I might make up 9 or 10, or who knows? We'll go through it. All right. So the next one I want to talk to you guys about is Pinterest. What is really cool about Pinterest is that it's not like these other platforms to where like you go on and you see the feed of all the people who are posting things that you're following. I mean, you're able to see those kind of things, but it's more so used the way YouTube is used. When you go on Pinterest, you usually go on there to search for something specific first, or you end up there because you clicked on something on your phone or your computer. You saw something that was interesting. Maybe you were Googling and something came up and you clicked on it, you ended up on Pinterest. And then now all of a sudden you're being shown all these things that you're super interested in, right? Like the computer like knew exactly what you wanted. And so Pinterest is different in a way that you don't have to update it as much as you do the other platforms. On the other platforms, you want to be visible, like I said, at least monthly, but you guys ideally a couple times a week if you can, but at least monthly. On Pinterest, you can actually post like 10 or 20 posts at one time, and then they can be seen all the time. Like something I post today might be seen in 4 years, just based on what somebody is searching for or what they viewed. All these posts keep going up and down. It's a very different algorithm, and it's really cool. Okay, now demographic for Pinterest is primarily women. I think it is at this time about 80-20, 80% women, 20% men. It might even be higher, like 85 by this time. But what's really cool about that is women are typically the decision makers in the household. Okay, so it's not a bad idea to market to women, right? Women make the decisions for their kids. They tend to make the decisions for, like, if their husband is going to buy a new pair of boots or something, or whatever it is. Like, women tend to make buying decisions more often than not. So it will never hurt you to market to women. Now, of course, if your target market is primarily men, you obviously have to market to men as well, because not all the men that you're marketing to may have wives or a woman in their life that kind of controls all that. Early in mine and Isaac's relationship, I thought I was being a little controlling because I was just making all the decisions like I normally would, right? Because I'm a woman. And I approached him and was like, does that offend you? Like, should I like tone it down? Like, should I ask you this stuff? And he's like, I like not having to make these decisions. Like, you're doing a great job. Just keep doing it. Like, I like to not have to think about, what we're going to have for dinner, or where we're going to go on Friday night for our date night. I like that you just come up with those ideas and we just do what you want to do. And of course, he wants to be adventurous, which I won't be, but like he wants to jump out of a plane. I can't do that. I just can't, guys. Maybe someday in my life, we'll see. I see I have a chat here. Let's see. Okay, no, that's just you guys talking to each other. That's good. I'm sorry I didn't notice the chats before, but it looks like you guys are just talking to each other. Okay, so let's move on to the next. Oh, Pinterest. Let me tell you what Pinterest is like. So on Pinterest, it's similar to Instagram where you have to post an image to be able to post to the platform. So the primary focus has to be an image. You can put text, you could put hashtags, and all of these platforms you can use hashtags, and you should. There's a blog on my website about hashtags to help you use them better. If you're interested, you can just go to fusebusinesstraining.com and go to the blog page and then find it. And then, so you could use links on Pinterest. You can actually have your one image that you post link to whatever website you want. So each image could link to a different website or a different part of your website, whereas that's a little different than Instagram, where you only could put your link in your profile. But on Pinterest, you can put the link on each picture individually. And you could also put a description in all of these. The only one that has a hard limit of characters is Twitter. Now, most of them have like limits, but you'll never reach those limits on a lot of the other ones because there's just such a big limit. But Twitter is the only one you need to worry about. Today, it's up to 280 characters. It started at 140. It's up to 280 now. So that's good and bad, depending on if you like to ramble or not. And then if we move on to the next platform, let's talk about, so Snapchat. I think I touched on it a little bit, but let me go into it a little bit more here. Snapchat is where all the, we'll call them the cool kids, right? The cool kids, the younger generation, they're hanging out on Snapchat. That's the place to be for the younger generation. This is middle school, high school, college, and a little bit after college. They're hanging out there. So let's say that your focus is on the next generation of leaders. Then you're probably marketing to that generation. You would want to be on Snapchat and Instagram, places like that. If you don't care to do business with millennials and those generations, you don't need to be on those platforms, right? Like if you're like, no, I don't even like, that's not where my market is. I don't do business with them for whatever reason, then you don't have to be there. But if that is your market, you guys, you need to be there. They need to be able to hear you on the platform that they prefer to be on. Dwight, is your hand raised?
Yeah, I actually lost power, so I missed this section because I was connected on Wi-Fi through another device. But now that I'm back on, you're talking about the younger generation and target audience for customers.
Yeah.
At this point, I'm not yet ready to hire on full-time employees or even, part-time employees where I'm going to file, put them on a W-2 and all that. But that's really, really going to be my next goal in next year, is going to be getting a crew of employees together, because I'm going to need, for the vision I have, I'm going to need 2 whole crews of people that will do work. So I will need some leaders, but first I need some of these younger generation that you're talking about that are looking to get started in a career and want to learn the things that I have to teach them. So I've got some of those. Are we going to address any of that in the marketing part of this, like where you go to like recruit, I guess?
Yes and no. So not specifically where to go to recruit, but it's the same process as you would do for clients. So you need to determine who that avatar is of who you want to recruit, find out where they are, what language they speak, and then be there. So you can use social media to recruit people as well.
All right.
Okay, good question. Thank you. All right, so then if we move on to, let's see, we talked about Pinterest, we were talking about Snapchat. Now, you guys, what's unique about Snapchat is that the things that you post on Snapchat disappear after 24 hours. So it's not like you have a long feed or a profile or a page of all this stuff that people can always find what you post. That's one of the unique things about Snapchat, and that's one of the reasons why the young kids love it, because like, they're posting things that they may or may not agree with tomorrow that they agree with today. I joked that I've got 2 teenagers, one's a girl, one's a boy, and my daughter seems to have a new best friend every week. And it's very confusing because it's like, well, this is my best friend. And I'm like, well, what happened to so-and-so? And then they get in a fight with their best friend. And it's like the worst fight in the world. You think that there's going to be like World War III here. And then the next day they're spending the night together. And I'm like, I have no idea. I can't keep up. And so I can understand why the younger generation likes this thing that disappears after 24 hours, because you know, what you say today, you might not mean tomorrow. I don't know. But for businesses, that may or may not be a good strategy for you, because if you're putting content out there, you want content to stay out there as long as it can so it can be found. So the only reason you should be on Snapchat as a business is if you are specifically targeting high school, college age, or around that age people for your avatar. For business, you can still be on Snapchat for personal reasons, but for your business, it's going to get the most traction with that audience. And then the next thing is TikTok, which, you guys, TikTok is newer. You may or may not have heard about it yet. It is the same demographic as Snapchat. It's a very young demographic. In fact, my 9-year-old daughter uses TikTok. And so it's even younger than a lot of the other platforms. But so what's weird, what's interesting, I don't want to say weird, what's interesting about TikTok is it started off as a music app where kids can like play music and then like lip sync it and like do dance moves and stuff to this music. And that's why my 9-year-old was using it. She was like just doing fun little videos with her friends. Well, then it turned into like a social media. People started posting business stuff on there. And anybody who knows Gary Vee, you should know that Gary Vee is using TikTok so heavily that I'm questioning if he has stock in it or if he is an owner in it. I don't know. I haven't been able to find the information in the research yet, but he is so heavily promoting it that it's hard for me to believe that he doesn't have some kind of monetary involvement in it. But my point in saying that is Gary Vee is extremely influential, which means if he's using TikTok, it's going to be the next big thing. So if you have a target audience that is younger, you should be using TikTok already before everybody else. Like, you've got to be one of the forefront people in this platform. Dave, could you please contact me? Okay, that was Dwight. All right, and so make sure, and we're going to do a session on TikTok. I believe it's next week. All the social media stuff starts next week, and I'll post the schedule for that after we get off the call so that you guys can see that. Dwight, is your hand up again, or did you have, is it from last time?
I didn't lower it last time. I'm sorry.
Okay, no worries. I didn't notice, and then I was like, oh, okay, great. So then the next platform that I want to talk to you guys about is YouTube. Now, a lot of people don't see YouTube as a social media platform, but it is. It's not quite like the other ones, but it is technically social media. And most of you probably have a YouTube channel without realizing you do. What I mean by that is that YouTube is owned by Google, which means that if you have a Google account, you have a YouTube account. If you use Gmail, you have a YouTube account. And your YouTube account is out there, even if you don't even know it's there. Like, if you've never even logged into it, people can actually find your YouTube channel that you don't know exists, which means they're probably seeing like a picture that's old or outdated information, who knows. So there is a section, there's a day that we'll train on YouTube that I want you guys to make sure that your YouTube is up to date and post videos on there. Again, you're on YouTube, you could record a video on like your phone or your computer or a camera. You can edit it if you need to, and then you can upload it to YouTube. You can also go live on YouTube, just like you can on Facebook and Instagram. One of the other cool features of YouTube is that I can do a pre-recorded video and set it to premiere, which means it looks like it's a live video, but it's not. It was pre-recorded. Dwight, did you watch our the Living Stones feed this morning?
No, I did last Sunday, but I attended another church this morning.
Okay, so so this morning when my family was watching our church, Dwight goes to the same church as I do, his home church here when he's here, because I know he's out of state right now. But so we were watching church this morning, and our pastor was speaking, but he was also commenting without having a phone in his hand. And my whole family is like, how is he doing that? And even some people commented. And so I taught my family today that it's the premiere feature. They pre-recorded this probably yesterday, or something, and then they've got it set out to go like it's live. That's really cool and very effective. And so, because then that allows the people who were like our pastor and the worship team, it allows them to sit back and enjoy the service on Sunday morning then, instead of always be working on that day. Dwight, you have a hand up again.
Yeah, when you do that through Facebook for this group we're in now, it blew my mind the first time I was in a video with us, and then my phone chimed in that you just made a post. I was like, is Isaac sitting next to her posting stuff for her into the group? And then I tried to comment on one, and you know, I don't know how that worked, but that was another scheduled thing because I was up late and I was like, oh, she's posting something, and I couldn't see it. So I didn't know that you could delay your posts or your video feeds like that. I think that's fantastic.
Yep. And so when we get to each platform, I'll cover how to do that in each platform. And so what Dwight was seeing was I was up late one night and I was posting stuff like scheduling for our group, and I accidentally hit post instead of schedule, so then I had to delete it real fast and redo it, but Dwight caught it before I deleted it. And then what he was saying too about the other thing, you guys may notice that when we're on our call, I schedule your homework to get posted in our group 10 minutes after the call starts. So at 2:10, it posts. That's scheduled, and you guys are probably getting a thing like, how is this possible? And I've had people even in my live classes when I used to teach live, and they'd get an update from me while I'm standing there teaching, and they're like, how is this possible? You just posted a blog. And I'm like, it was scheduled. So I am a big advocate of scheduling, and I'll share how to do that in each platform that allows it when we go into that. And so what's really cool about YouTube, you guys, is that nowadays people prefer video over any other platform. And the reasoning why is because anybody who is like a certain age, I would guess probably 50 or below, prefers video. Some of them prefer reading as well, right? But a lot of them enjoy the watching, and because it's personable. If I can see you teaching me, I like that. I'm a person who loves reading as well, but I love watching videos, especially videos that are teaching me something. I like to be able to see the person who's teaching me because it builds that know, like, and trust relationship. I see I have a question in the chat. Nope, that was an old thing. Never mind. All right. And so with YouTube, you actually, if you post on YouTube, you're going to rank higher in the search engines for a couple of reasons. Number one, Google owns YouTube, which means if you search on Google for something, do you think they're going to show their content before other people's content? Of course they are. We all would do that, right? Like, it's just normal. So if you have video out there, it's going to rank higher than other things, especially if it's on YouTube, and especially if you're searching in Google, which most people do. It's the #1 browser. Those are going to mesh together perfectly. So having video out there is going to help you be found. And the other thing is that video gives you credibility more than any of the other options. So you could put images and text and blogs and emails and stuff out there all day long. But until people can see your face and hear your heart in your voice, you're not going to gain the level of confidence and what's the word I'm looking for here? Credibility, confidence and credibility that some people need to be able to say, yes, take my money. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't make any sales that way. There's just going to be some people who, and actually many people, that before they'll hand someone their money, especially if it's like a subscription service month after month to pay for something, they want to know you. And the best way to know somebody is through video. Just in this video alone, you guys, I shared my heart multiple times. I shared times I've messed up. I shared about my family, right? My husband, my children. One of my kids walked in on the video a couple of times. That makes you feel like you know me, even if you've never met me. Could we agree on that? So I know you guys are all muted, so I'm seeing some heads. So yes, thank you on that. I can only see some of you guys, by the way. And so if anyone's giving me like funny faces or mean faces, I can't see you guys, thankfully. But I'll have to tell you guys one day a story about when Rick Gosser made me cry. But it was all good. It wasn't like a bad thing. It was a good thing. But I'll have to tell you guys that story one day. I was a big crybaby. Rick smiled. That'll give Rick some good publicity because it is good. I know it sounds bad, but it is good. But I'm not going to go into it today. There's actually a good time for me to tell that story, and it's not in this training. All right, so we covered Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, Pinterest, YouTube. Look at 8. I said there's going to be 8. There was 8. So I just guessed when I said 8. So we went over 8 different platforms, and I told you about the different people who are on different platforms. I did not tell you about YouTube demographic. YouTube does not have a specific demographic. I don't think they've been able to pinpoint anything that's higher than the others because so many people use it. People for like, I know 3-year-olds who are watching their cartoons on YouTube, right? And I know people who watch like how-to videos, like how to cook or how to fix a car or how to build something, or I don't know. There's tutorials. My kids watch what I believe is weird. You may or may not think it's weird. I think it's weird. So my 9-year-old watches people run around acting crazy. Like they're like looking for what they call a hacker, which is like, I have no idea. It's like a mystery person. I mean, I know what a hacker is, obviously, but they call this person a hacker, but he's not a hacker, I don't think. And so this person that my daughter watches posts every single day, a new video every day, and it's just her talking and being followed by a camera and doing like obnoxious, dramatic things that just get your attention if you're 9. To me, it doesn't seem interesting at all. But then my son, who is 16, he watches other people play video games. And I couldn't understand that. I was like, why would you just not play the video game yourself? Why would you watch someone else play a video game? I just don't get it. And then he shared with me, well, because I'm learning from what I'm seeing them doing. What they do, I'm able to learn from it. And I couldn't understand it until I realized that that's why people watch me. when I do a how-to video, for instance. His just aren't being listed as how-to videos, which is why it confused me. And then like my daughter listens to her music. She finds music videos on YouTube. So they all listen to it everyone's using YouTube for different reasons in my house. But it's just interesting, excuse me, that no matter your age, your sex, your location, you probably use YouTube at some point. And most of the time when you use YouTube, you're either watching the things that you're subscribed to, which reminds me, if you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel yet, I ask you to please subscribe because there's good content up there, not just these videos. Or you're going on there searching for something specific, like how to do this, or where can I find this, or things like that, or playlists for music or whatever. So now that we've gone over 8 different platforms, you've learned your demographics on who's on what. Who has questions about those? Does everybody feel like they know which platform they should be focused on their demographic? I usually tell people try to have 2 or 3 platforms that you focus on. At minimum, even if you just start with Facebook at a bare minimum, that's good. But besides Facebook, try to have 1 or 2 other platforms that you're focused on. All right, Phyllis raised her hand. Go ahead, Phyllis.
Okay. My question. Oh, I better mute my.
Yeah, I'm getting some feedback. Okay. I see a few hands up. Okay. Phyllis, I can't hear you.
Mine on.
Okay.
Okay, got it?
Yeah, but I think
Mute yours, please. We'll turn your volume down then.
Oh, that's a good call.
We're goofy. Okay. Got it. Mine is a Pinterest question. And that is that I use Pinterest kind of like my own personal recipe box and scrapbook.
Mhm.
So I have, a board in Pinterest of window treatment ideas and design ideas because I'm saving things. And people are always saving my pens. Now, could I put my website in there under design ideas and it would actually take people to my website?
Yes, you can. And we will share that on when we do Pinterest in a couple of days, or it might be next week. I can't remember. But we do have a date where we do Pinterest, and we'll learn that then. All right, so real fast before I answer the next question, I see that my Instagram feed, remember I'm live on Instagram, it tells me I have 10 seconds before it cuts me off. I'm hitting the limit. So I'm just gonna say goodbye to everybody on Instagram. And if you have questions, look at Fuse Empire on YouTube. All right, so it has ended, and I will share. Perfect. So Donna, I thought I saw your hand go up, but maybe you had the same question as Phyllis. Do you have a question right now?
No, I don't have any questions. I'm just sitting here putting down which ones I need to use for which reasons, and I'm up to 4 of them so far. Snapchat, because I do things with the kids. I have a kids corner column in my paper, and then I want to get stuff for the sports teams from the kids.
Okay, you could turn it back
Facebook
up.
already on, and then YouTube I need to do, and Instagram I need to at least post my picture on there.
Okay.
Paper. So yeah, I'm learning a lot. Thank you.
Good, you're welcome. Now, Donna, what I would recommend is to start with 1 or 2 of those, get really good at them, and then add another one, and keep adding as many as you think you need until you have them all. Again, you don't have to be on every platform, but you also should be cautious of trying to get on all of them at once, because social media is overwhelming. So I encourage you to start with 1 or 2, get good at those platforms, and then add more as you see fit.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, any other questions?
Full resolution.
Sorry, guys. I see we went over 3 o'clock today. We are just on it. All right, so let me tell you guys what your homework is. Did I write this down? Let me stop. Oh, I'm not sharing. Am I? Okay. Okay. Let me go to the homework real fast. I don't remember what the homework was today, and I didn't write it down in my notes before starting. I had a very late start on everything today because, again, normally Sunday's a down day for me, but because I committed to this, I'm here, but I did not prep as much as I normally would because it's Sunday. I should have prepped last night, but I did not think about it. Again, I'm human. All right, so the homework for today. Okay, I was gonna say my computer seems to be going slow now that I'm trying to do something important. All right, here we go. Today's homework. Determine your avatar. So I'm going to post my avatar sheet. You're able to download it, print it, whatever makes sense for you. Determine who your avatar is. Tell us who your avatar is in the homework section of this unit, in the comments. Tell us who your avatar is so that we can help watch for that person for you, and we can help market you if we see fit, right? Define which social media platforms that you should be using to reach your ideal audience. Again, I want you to start with just 1 or 2. You don't have to count Facebook as those 1 or 2. Facebook is a given for everybody. Everybody should have some kind of presence on Facebook. So choose 1 or 2 other platforms that you should be focusing on, and still come to the other trainings, even if it's not where you should focus, because it's good to know about the other platforms for when you're ready to add them, or in case you hear something that is across all platforms. And then you're going to get on those platforms. So if Instagram is one that you choose, you need to create an Instagram account. Now, if you feel more comfortable waiting until the Instagram training to create your account, that's fine. But I would still recommend you start a basic account and then let me teach you how to enhance it on the training. Okay, it would actually be a lot less time consuming if people already create an account and then I walk you through how to make it better. And then send us the links to the platforms that you're on so that we can support you. You guys, this is free exposure. This is getting your name out there and your pages out there for free. Okay, so make sure that you do that. Make sure that you post and you share that stuff. All right, now that you guys know your homework, I'm going to give one last reminder of the contest that ends at 1 p.m. tomorrow. Make sure you invite people who are interested in being part of this group. Tell them why you're inviting them. Don't just invite them without knowing if they're interested or not. And let's see, Dwight, you have a question?
Based on starting up these new accounts on these platforms, what if we've made an attempt at starting one in the past for personal reasons, and we don't want that to be reflected on our professional stuff. I mean, like, cause I've tried Instagram once upon a time. No, I might have tried all of these at one point or another. And honestly, I only do Facebook, YouTube, and Snapchat now. So if I do go and start one, I want to make sure that old thing is not relevant to Done Right by Dwight at all. I don't want it to be connected at all.
So a couple of options. Number one, if you're not going to use those other ones, just completely delete them. If you plan to use those for personal and then this for your professional, then you just need to make sure they don't look the same and that you don't connect them to each other, right? So you can have two profiles, one for personal, one for business, if you'll use both. But if you're not going to use the personal one, just delete it and use the professional one.
is there anybody in our network that might be technologically savvy to help me find it and delete it? No.
So the easiest way to find it is to go hit forgot password, put in your email address, and then keep putting in email addresses until you get an email from Instagram, and then it will give you the option to reset your password.
Cool.
You're welcome. All right, anybody else? Questions? I'm trying to look. I don't, yes.
You were gonna talk about the contest?
Yeah, so I was just saying the contest is just inviting people. The more people that you invite, so every person that you invite that joins, you get a point for. And I'm giving away a $1,500 prize on Monday, tomorrow, for the winner. Right now, Kim Hall is in the lead. I've given away 3 prizes so far, but all of those were just $20 prizes. So those were teeny tiny prizes. This is a nice big prize. So you want to invite people, but please don't just hit the invite button. If you go to the announcements tab in our group, it shares how you should be inviting people, which is basically copying, pasting the link to them and telling them why they should go. So something along the lines of, hey, I just joined this group and it's really valuable. You should check it out. Or I've been part of this group for a week and I'm learning a lot. You should join. Something like that, because they need to actually join in order to count for you. When someone clicks join, it will ask them who invited you and what's your email address, right? So you get credit and I get their email for lead gen. So win-win-win for everybody.
And Barbara,
Yes.
Barbara, I kind of feel like I'm doing my kindness calls also, because if it's a business person that needs to understand this better, that's a kind thing to do for someone. So it kind of is a dual purpose.
Especially right now, because people need to have some way to stay visible while the world's uncertain of what's going on. We need to find a way to stay visible. And you guys, every tip I give you in here, you're able to do for free. It just costs you your time.
I'm confused. You said I invited one person and I have no clue who that is.
I counted KJ as one for you.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. All right. Because I think I've just been verbally telling people and not doing it right.
Yeah, and look on the announcements tab so you can do it right, because you guys have almost 24 hours left. So
Okay.
you still can catch up. Like I said, Kim's in the lead, but she only has 11, you guys. You could totally catch up to that. Don't let Kim win another contest. She's already won a contest. She won contest 2 out of 3, right? We had Dwight, Kim, and then Marie. And so hopefully we get a new winner, but you're not excluded if you've won. So I'd like to see a new winner, but it might be one of the regulars. So you guys, come on, beat Kim out of the water. Kim, I love you, but I'd like to see a new winner. All right, so if that's it, you guys, I'm going to get off here. If you have other questions, just send me a message or something. Remember, tomorrow we'll open up the room at 1:30 for networking and any questions. Okay, and then we'll start at 2. All right, have a good day, everyone. Bye.
See you guys.